Anadarko, Oklahoma, in 1997, was the epitome of a quiet, rural American town. With a population hovering around 6,000, it was a place defined by familiar faces, shared histories, and a slow, predictable rhythm. Crime was an anomaly, not an expectation. In this tight-knit community, everyone knew Kathy Dobry and her daughter, Tiffany. Tiffany, a vibrant and caring young woman just months past her high school graduation, was embarking on adult life with characteristic enthusiasm. She had recently married her childhood sweetheart, Ryan, and was diligently working 2 jobs, a testament to her determination. Her proudest achievement was a new white Dodge Neon, a symbol of her independence and hard work. On the evening of July 26th, she stopped at the local Sunshine Car Wash to clean her car, planning to later meet Ryan to celebrate their 3-month wedding anniversary. This simple, mundane act was the last moment of normalcy for Tiffany and her family. Her vehicle, found later with the keys still in the ignition and her personal belongings inside, became a silent monument to a violent and sudden rupture in the town's peace. The discovery sent a shockwave of fear and disbelief through Anadarko, transforming the familiar into a landscape of dread and unanswered questions. The investigation began with the heartbreaking assumption that someone known to the community might be responsible, yet no clear suspect emerged from the circle of family and friends, leaving a void filled with grief and terrifying uncertainty. While the Dobry family grappled with unimaginable loss, the figure who would later be identified as Tiffany's killer was already a known predator, though not yet connected to her case. William Bill Reese, a 38-year-old Anadarko native, carried a long and violent criminal history. His upbringing was marked by instability, poverty, and hints of abuse within a large, fractured family. This difficult start seemed to forge a man devoid of empathy, particularly toward women. His criminal trajectory took a severe turn in 1986 when he kidnapped and raped a woman whose car had broken down. Astoundingly, while awaiting trial for that crime, he committed a second, nearly identical rape. Convicted and sentenced to 25 years, he served only a decade before being released, a decision that would have catastrophic consequences. Upon his return to society, he briefly lived with his mother in Anadarko before relocating to Texas. His pattern was clear. He was a compulsive offender who viewed women as objects for his gratification, and his time in prison did nothing to rehabilitate his violent urges. Unbeknownst to the Oklahoma investigators, Reese was not just a local troublemaker, he was a burgeoning serial predator whose movement to Texas would unleash a new wave of terror, all while the mystery of Tiffany's murder grew cold in his hometown. In the years following Tiffany Johnston's murder, a series of abductions in Texas bore the chilling hallmarks of an organized predator, though the connection to Oklahoma remained unseen. In April 1997, just months before Tiffany's death, 12-year-old Laura Smither vanished while jogging in Friendswood. Her body was discovered 17 days later. Then, in July 1997, the same month Tiffany was killed, 19-year-old Sandra Sapor was abducted from a parking lot south of Houston by a man offering to help with a flat tire. Showing incredible courage, she leaped from his moving truck to escape. Merely days later, 20-year-old Kellyanne Cox, a college student and young mother, disappeared from a Denton convenience store. In August, 17-year-old Jessica Kane vanished after a school event, her truck found abandoned on Interstate 45. These cases, spread across the Houston region and along the Y-45 corridor, created an atmosphere of palpable fear. Communities were gripped by the terrifying notion of a hunter in their midst, someone who could snatch young women and girls from everyday life with impunity. Texas law enforcement pursued numerous leads, but without a clear forensic link or witness identification, beyond Sandra Sapor's escape, the predator remained a ghost, his ability to operate across vast distances suggesting a frightening mobility and cunning. As years passed and Tiffany Johnston's case grew cold in official files, it remained a burning, open wound for her mother, Kathy Dobry. Refusing to accept the silence, Kathy transformed her grief into a relentless, personal crusade for justice. She became a constant, respectful, but persistent presence for law enforcement, ensuring her daughter's file was never forgotten. Her deep roots in the Anadarko community provided a network of informal information, and she privately pondered the suspicious characters from her daughter's past. Adding to the mystery were the eerie trinkets, small necklaces or bracelets, that appeared on Tiffany's grave each year on the anniversary of her murder. To Kathy, these were not tokens of remembrance, but sinister markers, possibly from the killer or someone connected to him, a taunting reminder that the truth was still out there. This annual occurrence steeled her resolve further. She made a solemn vow to Tiffany, fueled by both a mother's love and a simmering fury, that she would find the person responsible. Her journey was not one of dramatic confrontation, but of dogged perseverance, maintaining pressure on investigators, supporting advancements in forensic technology, and keeping Tiffany's memory alive in the hope that one day a break would come. Her endurance became the emotional backbone of the stalled investigation. The pivotal turn in the case came not from a witness, but from science and a shift in investigative perspective. Advances in DNA technology allowed the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation to re-examine evidence from Tiffany Johnston's body in the early 2000s, generating a partial male DNA profile. This scientific clue excluded all known persons of interest but pointed to an unknown suspect. Around the same time, investigators began looking beyond Oklahoma's borders, analyzing patterns of similar crimes. The horrific series of abductions and murders along Texas's Interstate 45 corridor, a highway notorious for unsolved killings, caught their attention. The methodology in these Texas cases, particularly the abductions of young women from public places, echoed Tiffany's. When investigators superimposed William Reese's known movements, from his release in Oklahoma to his residence in Texas, onto a map of these crimes, a disturbing timeline emerged. He was geographically positioned for each tragedy. This conceptual link, connecting the Oklahoma cold case to an active Texas serial predator investigation, provided a new and urgent suspect. Reese was now the prime target for Tiffany's murder, transforming the case from a local mystery into a potential piece of a multi-state serial killing puzzle.
With the DNA link and geographic pattern strongly implicating William Reese, who was already serving a 60-year sentence in Texas for kidnapping Sandra Sapor, investigators from Oklahoma and Texas confronted him. Their strategy was to use the potential for the death penalty in Oklahoma as leverage. Faced with this threat, Reese, a manipulative and calculating individual, chose to cooperate strategically. In exchange for information and to avoid extradition to a death penalty state, he led authorities to the remains of Jessica Kane and Kellyanne Cox in 2016. However, his confessions were masterclasses in evasion and minimization. He described Laura Smithers' death as a tragic accident, claimed a physical altercation led to Kelly Cox's death, and framed Tiffany Johnston's murder as the result of an argument. He steadfastly denied any sexual assault, the likely core motivation for his crimes. This negotiation revealed Reese's true nature. He was not confessing out of remorse, but playing a final, cold-blooded game of chess, trading information he could no longer use to secure his own continued survival in a prison system rather than facing execution. His cooperation provided closure to families but denied them the full, horrific truth. The legal reckoning for William Reese unfolded across two state jurisdictions. In Oklahoma, Based on the DNA evidence and his own statements, he was convicted and sentenced to death for the first-degree murder and kidnapping of Tiffany Johnston. In Texas, he struck a plea deal, receiving 3 additional life sentences for the murders of Laura Smither, Kelly Ann Cox, and Jessica Kane. On paper, justice was served. For the families, especially Kathy Dobry, there was a profound relief in finally knowing who was responsible and seeing him held legally accountable. The mysterious trinkets on Tiffany's grave ceased, which Kathy attributed to the death of Reese's mother, Pat, whom she believed had left them out of a guilty conscience. However, this justice felt incomplete. Reese remained in Texas prison, not on Oklahoma's death row, a bureaucratic reality that frustrated Kathy. Furthermore, his calculated, emotionless confessions provided factual locations, but no insight into the why, leaving a void of understanding. The victory was real, but it was haunted by the manipulative nature of the killer and the lingering possibility that his crimes extended beyond the 5 known victims. William Reese embodies the clinical characteristics of a violent, predatory sociopath. Psychologists analyzing his history note a perfect storm of risk factors: a chaotic and likely abusive childhood, early behavioral problems, and an entrenched pattern of antisocial behavior. His crimes were not impulsive but deliberate, fueled by powerful sexual sadism and a profound sense of entitlement over women. The escape of Sandra Sapau did not deter him. It merely prompted him to immediately seek another victim, demonstrating a compulsive drive. His ability to operate across states highlights his organizational skills and understanding of investigative limitations. In prison interviews and court appearances, he displayed a chilling lack of affect, famously smiling during graphic testimony. His later cooperation was a purely utilitarian maneuver, showcasing his manipulative intelligence. He represents the nightmare predator, one who blends into communities, capitalizes on opportunity, and is motivated by a deep-seated pathology that remains largely inscrutable, reducing human lives to mere objects for his gratification and making him incapable of genuine remorse. For the families of Tiffany Johnston, Laura Smither, Kelly Ann Cox, and Jessica Kane, the resolution of the cases brought a complex mix of closure and enduring pain. Finding their loved ones' remains ended the torturous uncertainty of not knowing, allowing for proper burial and mourning. However, Reese's clinical blame-shifting confessions denied them any sense of moral accountability or answers to their deepest questions about their final moments. In Anadarko, the solved case lifted a decades-old shadow, but left behind a permanent scar. The knowledge that a homegrown predator was responsible for such evil changed the community's self-perception. The story serves as a grim reminder that profound violence can fester anywhere, shattering the illusion of safety in small-town America. The family's advocacy, particularly Kathy Dobry's, also leaves a legacy, demonstrating the critical role of persistent, vocal loved ones in keeping cold cases alive and pushing for the application of new forensic technologies. The case of William Reese officially closes with his multiple life and death sentences, yet troubling questions persist. Investigators and profilers strongly suspect he has more victims, given his mobility, long periods of freedom, and compulsive behavior. His travel routes between Oklahoma and Texas, and possibly beyond, could conceal other tragedies. The full scope of his crimes may never be known, as he has lost all incentive to confess further. Furthermore, the systemic failures that allowed his spree to continue, his early prison release, the initial lack of forensic links between state cases, offer a stark, cautionary tale. It underscores the importance of interagency communication, the value of DNA databases, and the need to view certain violent patterns as potentially interconnected. Ultimately, the story is a harrowing testament to human resilience in the face of evil, from Sandra Sapau's brave escape to Kathy Dobry's unwavering pursuit of justice. It stands as a permanent warning about the predators who walk among us and the enduring power of those who fight to bring them into the light.